Hey guys, this is Coco B. Taylor, and finally, this is my sewing machine video. So in this video, I will be pretty much talking about the different parts of the sewing machine, walking through each part, real basic. This is a basic walkthrough for those who are learning how to sew, not sure what to do with their sewing machine, and sometimes you are visual learners and you don't feel like reading your instruction manual, which I do recommend you do, but nevertheless it's good to have somebody kind of go walk you through everything. So again, this is for somebody who hasn't sewn, who probably has purchased a sewing machine and really don't know what everything is for, and they just going with the flow. So this is for you. So I'm gonna start from this end and I'm gonna work my way over here. Okay, first we're gonna start on this side. So I'm gonna walk over. Okay, so we have two, of course you have the power button that's over here, and right here this is the hand wheel. The hand wheel causes the needle to go up and down, so that's what that's for. And this right here, this is my stitch selector. So if you look, let me go over here. So now I am going towards the stitch selector. So you see there are different types of stitches. You have your straight stitch, which is the 6 through 9, and you have more decorative stitches on this end. And over here are your zigzag stitch. So while I'm turning it, as you notice, it tells you the recommended width and the length of your how you should select your selectors, which are up here. Your width and length selectors are pretty much with your thread, how you sew with your thread. Okay, so here's your width. So this is how wide the needle is going to go. Like say, let me see, for example, if you select a zigzag stitch, so we'll go to stitch number 4. I don't think that's 4. Yeah, I'm at 4. Okay, so you see we're at stitch number 4. So right here you can see the recommended width for stitch number 4 is 5, and the length is 1. Okay, so here, up top here, you just adjust your width and you adjust your length. And what you do with this, you always, before you begin to sew, you take a scrap piece of fabric and you test it to make sure that is the appropriate width and length that you want to use while you're sewing. Again, this is recommended, but it's always best to use test fabric with that. Okay, so now we're going to move up top. Here is the bobbin pin. So what you do, this is where you will wind your bobbin. I know the older machines, some of them don't have winders. So right here, you just place a bobbin here. So actually, let me show you. Let me get my bobbin from out of the case. Okay. All right. So pretty much how you would do is you would just sit your bobbin here. And also, you have to make sure, on my machine, you have to make sure that the hand wheel is pulled out. This it locks the needle in place so it won't go up and down while you're trying to wind the bobbin. And what I do, this is the holder for the bobbin. So what it does, so I click this back. So really what happens here, so let's assume that this is empty. There's no thread on here. So what you would do, you pretty much would thread this through up top here, as it says in the diagram, and pull it through. Not sure if you can see. If you can see this little hole, I'm going to turn it around. You can see this hole right here. Hopefully you can see it. And you pull it up, you press the presser foot, and it winds the bobbin. So this portion is kind of to help stop the bobbin from over winding. So as you can see, if the thread gets up to this point, then the winding of the bobbin would stop. So that's what that's for. And of course, this is your spool arm, holds your spool. And now we're moving over here. So here's the directions. Kind of gives you an idea with this. I like this machine. This is actually the machine I first learned how to sew on. So what you do, you just take the thread, you pull it through here, right around here. Then you put the thread under. Here's 2. And here is the thread holder. So 3, you wrap it around through here. So here you can see the thread going down here. And then here is 4. So here's 4. And 4 is you actually put the needle through the eye. You put the thread through the eye of the needle. So this is the actual, on this machine, there's the actual automatic threader. I don't use it because I just learned how to, when I first learned, I just learned how to manually thread my machine without it. So I do everything pretty much manually. And that's pretty much it on that end up top. So now we're here. So right here we have the needle plate. And I like this needle plate because it shows you the different lengths. So if you, for most of your patterns you're going to be like a 5/8 seam allowance. So this is a guide for when you sew your seams. Okay, let me see if I can go in closer. All right. Oops, sorry. Okay, so as close as I can get. So kind of you can see the measurements, and it'll tell you each direction where to sew with your seam allowance. Usually I see a lot of people on YouTube do a half, but in my class, where I go to class, we do 5/8. Okay, so this is where your bobbin sits. So you sit it right there, and what you do is take your bobbin. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but I'll kind of show you. So I'm pulling it through this little groove right here. Let me see if I can get it. I'm trying to do this with everything with one hand. Okay. And what you do, just mind you, the hand wheel is still out. So what you do is you just turn the hand wheel. See, I'm supposed to be pulling on the thread. Gosh, it's so hard to do it with one hand. Maybe I'll do that in another video and station it. So, okay, so one thing I also like about this sewing machine is that if you're doing sleeves, you're doing pants, you're able to pull this off. And you're able to sew something where this will take up a lot of room. Oh, also, it has a nice little ruler here. And this is a storage case. Okay. And, oh, I missed something. Most importantly. Oh, excuse my shadow. My shadow's in the way. Okay. So, this button right here, which I didn't go over along with the stitch selection, is a lot of machines may have a reverse button. It's kind of like a circle with a button and you push it. This one I like because you press it down and it does your reverse stitch. So definitely a reverse button comes in handy because it stitches the opposite way. So you would need that to lock your stitches in. So pretty much when you sew a straight edge, you always want to do a back stitch, and that kind of knots the needle in place. Okay, so back in this section. So here you see this little wheel with the numbers. that's pretty much your tension selector. And just like tension, it's either loose or tight. So this right here, so again, you would test if your thread is loose, or your stitches are loose rather, while you're sewing. Maybe you have to like adjust your tension. So you just do it according to the fabric you use or whatever. So it's always, that's why it's always good to use scrap fabric and test. Okay, so here we have my start and stop button. Of course, this holds the needle down, holds it in place. I know my mom's machine, I think she has an old Singer. Hers doesn't hold down in place. And what I mean by that, as you see the needle going up and down, so say this is sewing and then you stop sewing, it goes up. But say you need to turn the fabric around, you might lose your place. So this is what this button is for. It's to select where you want the needle to be. So if I press down, it'll stop sewing and it'll just, you know, be stationary in this position. Where, say if I'm sewing and here's my fabric and I need to turn it around to stitch a corner or edge or something, then when I put my foot off to press the foot, it'll automatically stop and go down. So again, this is what they called, this is what they call feet, presser feet. So there's different ones. So here, this one is good for a straight edge, or you do a zigzag stitch. So you see in the middle how it's a little wide enough to go back and forth like that. And that's where this comes in handy with your stitch selector, where like say if it was 5, then it'll just be a little bit wider if you would select a width of 3, where the zigzag stitches will be actually tighter. There are several feet that your sewing machine would come with, and you can do cording, you can do overlock stitching for those who don't have sergers. You have actually a buttonhole foot. This one, got magnets on it. This is actually to make buttonholes, and I think my other my other feet are upstairs in my little sewing closet. So maybe in another video I'll go over needles and feet. And lastly, so you're just like, okay, you see that foot still down. So here, back here, see if I can find it. There we go. Here's my lever to pull the foot up and hold down. So you want to sew, you make sure this is down, because you don't want your fabric going all over the place and you don't want your seams to be looking ghastly. So, oh my goodness, how did I forget? This is what I love. Okay, so when this is, you see this is a turtle and this is a rabbit. So pretty much this is your speed. This, you actually can control how fast your needle is going up and down, which is pretty cool. When I started sewing, I stayed on turtle because I was not trying to mess up. So as time progressed, I got more comfortable. You know, I started going to, at some instances, I was a rabbit, but then sometimes I get to my comfort zone and I want to sew like a turtle. And this is good because you can, when you press your foot down, you kind of like, it's like a gas pedal. So speaking of that, here is my presser foot. And sometimes it's like a car and you might press way down on it. So this kind of helps you control your speed, so which is pretty cool. And this is my sewing machine. If there's anything else I didn't clear up, or you want me to go more detail, let me know. And I will try to answer your questions the best I possibly can. So this is Coco B. Taylor with my finally did my sewing machine video. So Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I will talk to you guys soon.